As Jesus passed by, he saw a man blind from birth. He spat on the ground and made clay with the saliva and smeared the clay on his eyes and said to him, "Go wash in the pool of Siloam," which means sent. So he went and washed and came back able to see. His neighbors and those who had seen him earlier as a beggar said, "Isn't this the one who used to sit and beg?" Some said it is, but others said, "No, he just looks like him." He said, "I am." They brought the one who was once blind to the Pharisees. Now Jesus had made clay and opened his eyes on the Sabbath. So then the Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. He said to them, "He put clay on my eyes and I washed, and now I can see." So the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath." But the others said, "Well, how can a sinful man do such things?" And there was division among them. So they said to the blind man, "What do you have to say about him, since he opened your eyes?" He said, "He is a prophet." They answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and you're trying to teach us." Then they threw him out. When Jesus heard that they had thrown him out, he found him and said, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" He answered and said, "Who is he, sir, that I may believe in him?" Jesus said, "You have seen him, and the one speaking with you is he." He said, "I do believe, Lord," and he worshiped him. Hello and welcome to Close Walk Catholic Communications. I'm Father Bayer, your host, and we're glad that you can join us today. Then the Pharisees answered and said to him, "You were born totally in sin, and you're trying to teach us? Throw him out." Interesting. The full text of this gospel is when the disciples see the man born blind, and they ask Jesus, whose sin is he paying for? Was it the mother or the father's? And there was this great suspicion that if something was wrong with the child, then this was the wrath of God. God was getting even with the parents by giving them this child with whatever deformity there was. It's an interesting concept. And there are people who believe that. They really are. People look at their past, and there are some things, that when someone is an active drug addict and they're pregnant and they keep using all during their pregnancies, there's such a thing as children who are born addicted. There are. But I've had situations where people have had kind of a colored past. They've either not been that moral, they've been dishonest, they've been promiscuous, they perhaps have even had an abortion. And when a child is born and there's some deformity in that child, they think that God is punishing that child because they were sinners in their earlier life. I'm here to tell you that thank God, God is not like we are. We may wish something bad on someone who's hurt us or done something wrong. We may think, I hope to goodness say whatever, and then we can get mad, and I hope their business fails. I hope they burn in hell for what they've done. I hope we go through and say stuff like that. God does not. God will not. And if I act like I'm talking on his behalf, I think I know him well enough to say our God is not a vengeful or a intentionally harmful God. Okay, if that's the case, then why are people born with deformities? Why this, why that, why the other? There's no medical explanation. They had 4 healthy kids, and then this 5th one was born blind and deaf, whatever. I did have an example, and to me it was just a great, great example of a couple. Their first 3 children were blind and deaf. Their 4th and 5th were fine. I think it's great faith to have the 4th and 5th child. Okay? I think it's tremendous faith to have the 4th and 5th child. A friend of mine has 13 children. The last 7 are adopted out of hospitals because they were born with deformities and the parents left them at the hospital. I had one situation of a lady in my parish, and her children were born, fine. The oldest daughter's got some real issues and some anger and everything like that. She adopted a little boy out of a hospital. And I don't know all of the medical conditions, but he's kind of perpetual motion, and he's got some, disabilities, cute as he can be. But she adopted him, and the little boy's about 4 or 5 years old. It was really great because she came to talk to me before she adopted the little boy, and I just had such great admiration for this lady who doesn't have money, but no one wanted this child, and she was not going to let anything happen to it. She adopted this child in the old church. The cry room was in the back, and there's a glass window, and I'm saying mass one day, and here's a little boy running back and forth the whole time, happy, playing, and everything like that. And I thought, God, I want to cry. No one wanted this child, and I don't know what he was so happy about, but she brought happiness to this child's life. Rest of the story. Something happened with the oldest daughter, and it got very ugly. They lived in a trailer, and someone one night decides, arson, to set fire to their trailer right underneath the mother's bedroom. And the little boy, who's handicapped and got everything, he smelled the smoke first. He got up and went and woke up his mama, and he saved her life. Wow. Wow. God does things like that. She saved him. He saved her from burning up and burning to death. So the understanding is, if there's a reason, there's a purpose for everything under God's sun. I remember very vividly as a junior in high school, I got to go to Denver, Colorado to a national CYO convention, and Art Linkletter spoke at that convention. I know I'm dating myself, but Art Linkletter used to have a very popular show called Kids Say the Darndest Things. And Art was our keynote speaker at the CYO convention. And during that time, it was not long, it was during the 60s, Art had a son who was doing acid, dropped acid, and started having flashbacks, jumped out of the window of a building and killed himself. Art's last child was also born with severe deformities and special needs. And Art began to tell us the reason why they call them special needs is because these are the children who are so special in God's eyes, and how much joy this child had brought into their life. Initially, he said that when this child was born, they thought God was punishing them. They thought they had done something wrong. And they came to understand just how special and what a blessing that was. I had an opportunity where a girl I grew up with, poor child, we treated her so horribly. She's been married 7 times, and she was in foster care, and we were stupid, terrible young kids. And after many years of priesthood, she calls me. I hadn't seen her since 8th grade. She calls me. We renew the friendship. I apologize, all that stuff. Anyway, she has a child who had gotten pregnant. And here she comes to the church. She hadn't been to church in years. My secretary treats us so wonderfully, and it's so kind. She felt so good, and the lady was so nice. And long story short, the teenage daughter who met me decided she wanted to place her baby up for adoption, and she wanted me to do it. And at the time, the secretary's daughter was not able to have children. And so I was able to place this little girl's child with this childless couple who happened to be the daughter of my wonderful secretary who made this child's grandmother feel so special. And it was just absolutely, it was the most heart-wrenching thing I've ever done, taking a baby and saying, here's your son, and then going back to the little adoptive mother and crying with her through lunch. Then after 2 years, they decided the child had muscular dystrophy. And then I felt so bad, and I called the parents and everything. And she said, the mother said, you know what? God knew exactly what he was doing to give us this special need. This child has so many needs, and he gave us just the right person who's going to dedicate their life to taking care of this child. And I'm thinking they may be upset I gave them faulty goods, if you will. And they're saying, what a blessing. What a blessing that you've given us. Some people understand the challenges in life, be it our own or our loved ones, are an invitation that calls us to God, that maybe robs us of certain things of this world and opens up an awareness of things of the next world that we would not have gotten had we not first suffered and been through this. Some of us realize that. Some get very bitter about it. And when we understand that we're made for God, we're going to God, and that's the reason for our life. Not to win the Olympics, not to be rich and famous, but to be pleasing in the sight of God. So whose sin is it? The mother or the father's? It's nobody's. It's up to us to realize God uses many different ways to call us to himself. Stay with us. We're going to be back in a moment. During this Lenten season, we'd like to offer you a wonderful opportunity to grow spiritually with a CD, a contemporary meditation on the Stations of the Cross, performed and produced by Aaron Neville and myself. All the proceeds of this go towards the fight against human trafficking to Metanoia Manor. We thank you for considering this offer and this opportunity, and we hope and pray that your Lenten journey will enrich your lives as well as these children. Thank you.
Oh, when they condemn my Lord.
The Pharisees also asked him how he was able to see. He said to them, he put clay on my eyes, and I washed, and now I see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man is not from God, because he does not keep the Sabbath. But others said, how can a sinful man do such thing? And there was division among them. And they said to the blind man, What do you have to say about him since he opened your eyes? He said, he is a prophet. They answered and said to him, you were born totally in sin, and you're trying to teach us? And they threw him out. Hello and welcome back to Closer Walk Catholic Communications. I'm Father By, your host, and we're glad that you can join us. The Pharisees. Who do you think you are? We're the holy ones, okay? We decide what's holy. We decide what's right. We decide what's wrong. The arrogance of the faithful. It's a problem. It's really a problem. I used to play racquetball with a Baptist minister. And we'd be playing, and he's a good athlete, and we had good games. And if I'd say, oh, damn or hell, he'd fall apart. It's like, come on, man. It's a racquetball game. I'm not cursing God, okay? It's a racquetball game. I'm frustrated. Get over it. We have a definition of religiosity that sometimes develops a class of people that think they are so much better than everybody else. They're so much holier. And, and that is in any church. Not Christianity, not Judaism, not Buddhism, not Islam. It's in any church. You have those who think they're God's chosen people, and they're doing God a favor by going to church. It's very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous. It's that old thing that sometimes people are so Christian, you want to wear the lines when you really need them, because their Christianity is not about growing in their religion, their love, their relationship to God. Oftentimes, their Christianity is about passing judgment on other people who do not meet the same standards. And one of the great examples of that, in my mind, was Mother Teresa. She was a holy lady. She used to do what she did because she saw that every person was one more opportunity to meet God. She didn't see religion. She didn't see color. She didn't see creed. She didn't see the open sores and the open wounds. I'll never forget, during one of my, summer visits that I spent for 7 years with Mother, she asked me to spend the day with her. And we rode around in a ambulance because that was a means of transport. And what's interesting is that everywhere we stopped, Mother Teresa was like a rock star. She stopped and the crowds just converged in on her, and she was loving and tender and compassionate and very caring towards those people. And I don't know what the population of Calcutta was in terms of Catholic or Christian. I do know it was less than 5%. That didn't matter. That didn't matter because she wasn't here to proselytize. She was here to show God's mercy, God's love, and God's compassion to anyone who needed it. It's very interesting. You may or may not know that, and you heard in the commercial about funding for human trafficking. I was able to participate in opening a shelter for juvenile victims of human trafficking. And we're a 501c3, so we're a tax-free corporation. I'm president of the corporation, happen to be a Catholic priest, and I have 5 religious sisters who live there and live as house mothers and provide consistency and compassion and love for the girls. But as we go about telling people about what we do, we're very clear. We're not a Catholic institution. We don't do this for Catholics. We do this because we're Catholic. We do it because our faith calls us to reach out and to care for those who are in need. Not for Catholic kids in need. Any child in need, any child who suffered the trauma of human trafficking are people that we're willing to take and we're willing to love and care for. We don't care. We encourage them to have a relationship with God, and many of our sisters end up going to full gospel churches on Sunday morning because some of our kids want to go there, and we bring them. It's not about judging others. It's about recognizing others. It's about recognizing others made in the image and the likeness of God. And that understanding of who we are is very fundamental to what the Pharisees tried to preach. You know, you're not one of us. You were born in sin. Get out of here. Who do you think you are telling us about God? You know, it's that famous story, the little boy running up and down the beach, and he sees starfish being washed up on the beach, and he continues to grab them and throw them back in the water. And finally, after a while, this older man goes to the little boy and he said, "Son," he said, "don't you understand that this tide comes in and out all day, all night? It never stops. And what you're doing for those starfish doesn't really make a difference?" And the little boy picks up the starfish and throws it back in the ocean. He said, "It does to this one." And I think that should be the attitude of faith that we approach. Think about this. I know a lot of people approach religion, approach faith, and also approach God with, "What have you done for me today?" Try to picture this. Everyone in your parish decides, "I'm going to find one person, not in my family, and I'm going to introduce them to God. I'm going to let them know who God is. I'm going to let them know God's love. I'm going to try to encourage them to have a prayer life, have a relationship with God." If they happen to become Catholic, that's great. That's wonderful. We'd love it. If they decide to go to another religion, if we've brought them to God, we'll let God work out those details, not us. Our goal is to take the least, the lost, and the forgotten and try to bring them to God. Not to take like the Pharisees and say, "You're not good enough to be one of us. Who do you think you are? You're not nearly as holy as we are." I got news for you. We're not that holy. We're all sinful. We're all fallible. From the top on down, all of us are sinners. But we find our salvation in bringing God into our own life and then sharing that God with others that we've met. Then the other thing, it's Lent. Let's talk about something we can do. Let's take one person in need. You know, and when we say need, people used to say, "Oh, I'd love to go to Calcutta and help the needy." Well, start doing it here first, okay? When you start doing it here, you might really appreciate Calcutta. But those in need, the elderly person that lives alone and is isolated, the small child whose parents are not raising them and they're raising themselves in the street, the person who's addicted, the person who's given up hope, the person who's suffering with alcoholism. Boy, what a wonderful opportunity to do something good for God during Lent. What a wonderful opportunity not to be pharisaical, not to look down on these people, not to judge their lifestyle and say, boy, what a sleazebag, huh? Oh my God, what a slut. Oh. And we do it. We look at people and we think, oh, thank God I'm not like those sinners. We don't say it out loud like that. But we kind of distance ourselves. Once we have God in us, we have the strength to bring God to someone else we meet. What better way to celebrate the resurrection than to bring another soul to God, to bring another person to know God's mercy, God's love, and God's invitation. You know why a lot of people are not in church? Because they've never really seen it work. I see people go to church, but they've never really seen it work. They see they're not really that much different from me. They spend an hour on Sunday, I sleep in. But their attitudes, the way they treat people, their judgment, they're no different. Why waste an hour? That's what Lent offers us the opportunity to do, to bring Christ in ourselves first and to introduce that Christ to those that we meet and those who are in need. We thank you for being with us today. May each day bring you closer in your walk with the Lord. God bless you. During this Lenten season, we'd like to offer you a wonderful opportunity to grow spiritually with a CD, a contemporary meditation on the Stations of the Cross, performed and produced by Aaron Neville and myself. All the proceeds of this go towards the fight against human trafficking to Metanoia Manor. We thank you for considering this offer and this opportunity, and we hope and pray that your Lenten journey will enrich your lives as well as these children. Thank you.
Oh, when they condemn my Lord.